Welcome to Friday, the final Friday of this month. Rocking and rolling right here on the hottest show in the streets. Number one forum for your Bama football news, however you may be watching this. Cell phone, iPad, tablet, computer, what have you. You're rocking and rolling right here. Number one forum for Bama. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen M. Smith, Touchdown, Alabama Magazine. Appreciate you guys checking us out on today. We're bringing you the show from the magic city of Birmingham, streaming this to you on YouTube. You know what to do. Hit the subscribe button right now. Become a new member to the channel right now by hitting that subscribe button. Also, hit that thumbs up. Give a like on the show. Make this your show, your network, platform, channel, and space to talk Bama. Turn all of those notifications on. Hit that little bell so that way you miss absolutely nothing on your favorite program. We also got you covered here on Facebook and Twitter as well, streaming to you the show. And got a good one today, John. We'll be talking about one Brian Kelly, who in a recent podcast, a new coach for LSU, coming over from Notre Dame after spending 12 years with the Fighting Irish, said one of his goals for coming to the SEC was to do one thing, and we'll talk about that one thing here in the show. And along with that, the summer enrollees, the remaining freshmen for the 2022, this recent signing class, will be enrolled this weekend, and a few of those guys have been putting in some big-time off-season work. We'll get into that, and we'll even detail all of Alabama's opponents in its regular season schedule for the coming fall. We want to hear from you, the passionate fans of Bama football. You can do this by calling 205-448-1358. Light the phone lines up. Want to hear from you today. 205-448-1358. And one more time, 205-448-1358. Daily Super Chat goal, $75. As Jimmy, make it rain, make it snow in the club. Clay has already got us going with that $100 donation in the Super Chats, handling the goal by himself. Appreciate Jimmy Clay showing us the love here on the channel. So, I'm going to jump into the topic here, our first topic here of conversation. And like I mentioned, John, even in a NIL-controlled climate or NIL culture of college football, Nick Saban remains the needle. He remains the conversation. He remains the guy paying the bills. He remains the guy that keeps everybody employed because everybody wants to talk about him and his program, that being the Crimson Tide. And what's interesting here is Brian Kelly, of whom spent 12 years at the independent known as Notre Dame. The last time the Fighting Irish won a national championship, you would have to go back to, I believe, 1991 with Lou Holtz, if that year serves me correctly. But Notre Dame has had some chances under Brian Kelly to win, a national championship. I mean, 2012 had a shot to do that, but ran up against Alabama in the 2013 BCS title game and took a whooping, 42-14, and then had a couple of chances while it was in the college football playoff to make a run there at a national championship. Just Brian Kelly, as good as he was at Notre Dame, just never could get over the hump, right, of winning that championship. So he decides to go to LSU on November the 30th of last year, gets hired at LSU, and some of the main reasons why he took the job was, number one, of course, better players, better conference, better chance to win a championship, all of these things. But there was one thing he highlighted, which was one of the reasons why he chose to, in his words, not run from Notre Dame, but run to LSU for a bigger, better challenge. Check out this clip from the Varsity House podcast as one of the reasons why Brian Kelly chose to take the LSU job.
That's why you got into coaching. You love to compete, and you want to just keep competing until, I guess, the end of your career, basically.
Yeah, I want to beat Nick Saban. Who doesn't want to beat Nick Saban?
For
you
sure.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
I want to play him. I want to play him in the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the standard, right? That's the standard. Now he's a conference opponent, right?
Right.
I want to beat Nick Saban. One of the reasons why Brian Kelly chose to come to LSU. I want to beat Nick Saban. Who doesn't want to beat Nick Saban? Now he's a conference opponent. Now I get to see him. Now I get to have my shot at taking out the great one of college football. And like I mentioned, Brian Kelly's had some opportunities. You go back to 2012 at Notre Dame. Notre Dame was undefeated, 12-0, going into the national championship down there in Miami for the BCS to take on Alabama and Coach Saban. And people were talking about during that game, the build up for that game was, Notre Dame's got Manti Te'o. They got this great defense. Everett Golson, really athletic quarterback. This could be something here to watch. And we clearly saw Alabama just dismantle Notre Dame on national TV. I mean, it got so bad that at halftime, a question was directed to Brian Kelly, and he was like, well, hopefully Alabama doesn't come out in the second half, because they were getting just that embarrassed at halftime back in the 2013 title game. And then, of course, 2020, the COVID-shortened season, Notre Dame back there, got in the college football playoff, took on Alabama in the Rose Bowl. Instead of it being played in Pasadena, California, it was played in Arlington, Texas. And the likes of Mac Jones, Najee Harris, Devontae Smith, and the Alabama defense suffocated the Fighting Irish. Alabama got the 31-14 victory there. Alabama would go on to win an undefeated national championship. So Kelly's had chances. He's had chances in South Bend. He did. Now, I get it. People will say, but Steve, that's Notre Dame and their academics and it's rhetoric and it's hard, it's difficult, it's rigorous. That's where I want. It's rigorous, it's tough. Going to LSU, you're not having all of these academic requirements. You're getting the better athletes, the better players to go out there and compete and win and do what you want to do, which is win a championship. But it's just crazy how for most coaches, the dream, the goal would be win a national championship, right? But then for some, it's no. The goal is, one of the goals, I got to beat Nick Saban, because beating Nick Saban is the championship, right? I mean, if I get to the championship itself, that's cool, that's great, but beating Nick Saban to some people and to some teams, that is the championship. And it just speaks to how true the statement is that Coach Saban is the needle of college football. I mean, when you start a conversation with, this team's going to beat Alabama, people's ears perk up, people flock to the radio, they flock to the TV, they're grabbing the phones, they're calling the different radio stations going, did you hear this insane dribble coming out of this person's mouth that they're going to beat Alabama? Like, how in the world would this person be allowed to call into the radio station? Like, when you bring up Alabama, it starts the whole melting pot of discussion. And that just speaks to how much Nick Saban has had his finger on the pulse of the game for quite this long, for going on now 16 years. So, especially to Alabama. So it's just interesting how, Brian Kelly, one of his goals, I want to beat Nick Saban. And to start this season, or in this season, LSU, Coach Kelly will host the Crimson Tide at Death Valley Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, this upcoming season. So we'll see how that first matchup in the SEC goes between Brian Kelly and Coach Saban. But we take our first break here on the show. Don't touch that dial, because when we return, we dive into the phone lines to grab your calls, your thoughts, your chats, your interactions. What do you feel about all of this? Brian Kelly wanting to beat Nick Saban, coming to the SEC, leaving Notre Dame for this type of an opportunity. We'll get to your phone calls and your thoughts right after this.
You're watching In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith, brought to you by We Own the Fourth Quarter. Get your four-finger bling necklace today by visiting weownthefourthquarter.com. Throw them foes up.
9 players have teamed up and released the Alabama Team Paper, which is a video yearbook they've put out for sale direct to fans. Now, for the first time, small dollar purchases from the fans can support the players as a group as well as a great cause, because $1 of every subscription payment is donated to the Boys and Girls Club of America. Be a 5-star fan base and support your team and a great cause with Team Paper. Check it out at teampaper.com/Alabama.
Remember the taste of Grandma's delicious sweets? Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes brings back those precious memories with just one bite. Each cake made from scratch. They make the perfect dessert to share with family and friends for any occasion, and ordering is easy. Visit emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Click the online store and shop. Then pick up your fresh cake at the kitchen in downtown Homewood. Order yours online at emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes, making memories from scratch.
And we are back into the action here, folks, from the break on the number one forum for Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Happy to have you guys checking us out here on a Friday, TGIF edition here of the show. And phone lines open, 205-448-1358. Number to call in to let your voice be heard. The call segment brought to you by the Blue Wrench Gang, 205-448-1358. And one more time, 205-448-1358. As you guys are continuing to get your thoughts in, too, call in. You know, John, I know we're going to talk about this later on in the show, but I'm just really excited that, you know, this weekend we're going to see, or we're going to hear about the remaining freshmen in this 2022 class, this recent class, and then also the transfers of the transfer students. They're all enrolling this weekend to start, you know, summer workouts, to start summer camp, to start 7-on-7, you know, summer classes. This is a very exciting time of the year, right? Because normally you get to see, you know, which of these summer athletes, which one of these summer enrollees can make a name for themselves and ball out and impress the coaching staff enough to make Nick Saban and staff want to go, we need to play him. We need to play that guy. That player has to be on the field, because if we play this guy, they give us the best chance to win a football game and the best chance to win championships. Like I mentioned before, we've seen in years past under Coach Saban where a summer enrollee really, really popped off. I mean, whether it is Jalen Waddle, came in 2018 that summer, became the human joystick, you know, he really popped off. Whether it was Minkah Fitzpatrick, came in the summer of 2015, nearly took Tony Brown and Marlon Humphrey's jobs. Took Tony Brown's job at that star position, but we saw Minkah Fitzpatrick pop off. So we've seen this quite a couple of times now. A guy comes in the summer, even transfers. Jameson Williams comes in the summer and just blows everybody completely off the map and just took over. So it's going to be fun to see what these summer kids can do. But we take this first call right here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Stephen, it's sort of like it was back when we used to be with Coach Bryant and go to the games. You know, everybody wanted to beat Alabama, wanted to beat Coach Bryant. If they'd done that, they thought they'd got to the mountaintop. They'd climbed Everest, you know, and made it to the top, planted their flag. But yeah, it's the same way with Coach Saban. There's no difference. It's just a different time and era, a different place than what it was back then. But everybody wants a shot at the best, and when they beat them, they think they are the best. And they think they've really done it like Jimbo done last year, and a few others that beat Coach Saban. And the same way with Coach Bryant. As you know, you can sort of look at Auburn. They got about 5 plays they brag about. You can look at Alabama. They got a Sears and Roebuck catalog full of plays they can brag about. Auburn's got one sheet of players. Alabama's got another Sears and Roebuck catalog full of players. I don't know. There's no comparison in the Southeastern Conference or any school in this country to Alabama. But anyway, how's things going in Birmingham, Alabama? Is it raining? The sun shining? Has it got a little cooler today? It feels good outside, don't it?
It feels great outside, Wagon. I mean, the rain we've had in the last couple of days has cooled the temperature. I mean, it's a sunshiny day. And, you know, this weekend, of course, on Saturday, we'll get the remainder of this 2022 freshman class. They'll be enrolling in and taking these classes, you know, getting in that weight training program and getting ready to see which one of these summer guys can make an impact in the fall.
Well, we'll see what happens here. I hope a lot of them do make an impact in the fall, every one of them, because this team needs to I don't say this team needs to win a national championship. There's been a lot of championships won at Alabama in the last 13, 14, 15 years, way more than any other college in this country. Some of these colleges wish they just had one. We've got like I said, we've got a sack full of them. But anyway, this country needs to get back to, it's sort of like we used to go to those Kiss concerts and Paul Stanley and say, we go around the country and tell everybody there's no borders, no prime ministers, no presidents, there's no nationalities, no color. You just need to rock and roll all night and party every day. I think that's what this country's got away from. They've got a little too serious in this country and they've lost their mind, but they need to get around and go to another Kiss concert and loosen up a little bit and have some fun. Y'all looking good. Y'all be careful this weekend. Be safe. Memorial Day weekend. Everybody please be safe out there. We don't need any accidents, anybody getting hurt. Just take it easy and do your thing, and everything will be all right. We'll meet back on Monday. I don't know if they're going to have a show on Monday. If not, we'll meet back on Wednesday. Y'all be good, Blue Ridge Gang, looking good. Y'all have a good Memorial Day weekend. I'm going to sign out of here. Y'all be safe. Have a good Friday night. Bye-bye, everyone.
Appreciate my man weighing in, the president, calling in here on a Friday. Speaking of Memorial Day weekend, I want to give a shout out to all the veterans out there, the brave men and women that fight to defend and protect our rights in this country, this nation known as America. Even though sometimes I wonder, America, where are we? Where are we truly as a country? Sometimes I think about that, but I do want to shout out the brave men and women who do their job and their part in fighting to defend our rights and freedoms here in this nation. But as you're continuing to get your thoughts in, I want to go to a quick topic right here, and this is on Javon Baker, former Alabama wide receiver, who put his name in the transfer portal back on January the 14th, and he committed to Kentucky out of the portal, but there seems to be a very interesting development going on there between Kentucky and Baker. Baker put out on his Instagram on yesterday that Kentucky decommitted from him. Normally you see a player decommit from a school, but you rarely see a school decommit from a player. So basically what that means is Kentucky they pulled the scholarship off the table where he is concerned, and Baker kind of frustrated by that. The 6'2", 206-pounder from McEachern High School in Georgia. He came to Alabama in the 2020 class as a 4-star, a two-time SEC champion, national champion in the 2020 campaign. So hopefully Mr. Baker will be able to find a home somewhere in college football. But that was just shocking to me how Kentucky decided to pull away or pull off of Baker. I'm pretty sure Will Levis, their quarterback, can use some big-time play at the wide receiver position. But I digress from the statement. It's just crazy interesting. But, John, I'm excited to see these young men as summer enrollees come in here and see which one of these guys can really pop off and do their thing. But we're going to go to a break right here, folks, on the show. When we come back, we'll get into more of those summer enrollees and break down a few guys that have been putting in that off-season work prior to enrolling this weekend. We'll talk about it after this.
You know what we do at the start of the fourth quarter. We throw them foes up. But now you don't have to wait until the fourth quarter. Get your 4-finger bling necklace at weownthefourthquarter.com. It's the first and only logo that captures the essence of all Crimson Tide players and fans as we represent the legendary Alabama football fourth quarter dominance. Get your 4-finger bling necklace right now at weownthefourthquarter.com. Get yours today and stun on them haters. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide. Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.
All right, people, we're back in from the break of the #1 ticket for your Crimson Tide football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen M. Smith, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Be sure to hit that thumbs up. Give us that like button right here on the show. Hit that subscribe button as well. Make this your network platform, channel, and space to Talk Bama. But right now, We get into the summer enrollees, the remainder of the 2022, this freshman class coming in here this weekend, and a few transfers, 3 to be exact, will be enrolling for summer. 1 class is starting next week as well. And this is exciting. This is very exciting because it's normally this time of year where, the summer guys, they get to come in here, be a part of the weight training, the conditioning program ran by David Ballou, Coach Paul Constantine, head athletic trainer, athletic doctor, Jeff Allen, his staff, Miss Amy Bragg, who does a great job in nutrition. This is the time to get to know that group right there, getting their bodies in order where the athletes are concerned, a time to get a jump on that schoolwork, that coursework, getting those credit hours up to par, but also between mid-June throughout July, this is where the 7-on-7s, 11-on-11s, and situational practice things start to ramp up, and we get those videos of different guys meshing well, bonding well, playing well, showing off their skill set, and we can get to see who will be some guys out of the summer group that can really make a name for themselves in the fall. And the list of freshmen on screen, a lot of those guys include Emmanuel Henderson, Antonio Kite, Amari Black, Danny Lewis Jr., Elijah Pritchard, Kobe Prentice, Isaiah Bond, Shaz Preston, Jake Pope, Isaiah Hastings, just a number of different names right there, freshmen coming in here this weekend. And of course the transfers, you look at guys like Tyler Steen, Tyler Harrell, and Miles Kitzelman enrolling in those summer 1 classes. But just a few guys that have been putting in that offseason work. First and foremost, Earl Little Jr., defensive back from American Heritage High School in Plantation, Florida. He was coached by Patrick Surtain, who played in the NFL for the Dolphins and the Chiefs. His father, Earl Little Sr., has coached him also, and Little Sr. had played in the NFL, played 9 seasons of pro ball. So Junior gets a chance to show his own name. He gets a chance to make his own legacy for himself. And when you watch him play, just the high school tape here, there's a little bit of Patrick Surtain, the second, and there's a little bit of Minkah Fitzpatrick. There's a mixture of both in this young man's game. And Earl Little Jr. actually got a chance to attend a Minkah Fitzpatrick camp, and you're kind of seeing a little bit of that resemblance there. It's not the flashy plays from him, but it's the fundamental, hard-nosed, high IQ, get to where the ball is. Whether it's a tackle, a pass breakup, a fumble recovery, an interception, get to where the play is. And here's a guy that, with the cerebral mindset that he has, Little has a chance to come in here and create a role, create some value here in his first season as a freshman. So keep your eyes on him. Another guy that's been putting in work happens to be Sean Murphy. Murphy's been putting in a lot of work. Murphy, who not a summer guy, but he enrolled in the spring. But Murphy, a guy that was really good linebacker coming out of Unity Reed High School in Virginia. Murphy winning the Butkus Award for 2021, which goes to the nation's top high school linebacker, collegiate linebacker, and pro linebacker, regardless of the level of football that you are playing. But Murphy, cerebral at 6'3", 215 pounds, can run sideline to sideline, can make big hits, can make big tackles, can create big plays. Now for him, he may start off doing special teams first and showing that the coaching staff can trust him in that area before he is moved to getting more time as a linebacker on the inside perspective. But it's good to see him putting in that work here in the offseason program. And then you've got Isaiah Bond. This guy's been putting in some work. And here's somebody that a lot of U.S. fans are going, I cannot wait to see him. I mean, won the Georgia State title in track for the 100 meters and the 200 meters. The young man can absolutely fly. Set personal best in both of those also. This may be the fastest freshman Coach Saban has ever recruited. I mean, I know you got, Tyler Harrell from the portal from Louisville, right? I know you had Jamison Williams last year, coming from Ohio State to the portal, came to Alabama, I get that. But as far as just pure freshman, Isaiah Bond might be, very well may be, the fastest player Coach Saban has recruited. And he's already crafting his moves even more in the offseason prior to him even enrolling. So it's going to be fun to see what that young man does, because he has a chance to either be a showstopper, either as a receiver or in the punt return game or in the kickoff return game. Some way, shape, form, or fashion, Isaiah Bond is going to find his way on the field. It's going to be interesting to see what he does. But, all of these summer guys, we want to see all of them step up, all of them show up, all of them show out, because it's normally in this time of year where you will see 1 to 2, maybe even more, but at least 1 to 2 of those summer guys step up, show out, and make marquee plays there on the field for your Crimson Tide program. I even go back to this. John, I could be wrong, but in 2021, wasn't Ja'Cory Brooks a summer guy? I think he was, because Hall came in the spring, Leary came in the spring, JoJo Earl came in. I think Ja'Cory Brooks was a summer guy. And we saw last year Ja'Cory Brooks, big touchdowns and big moments. Had a big touchdown in the Iron Bowl last year, which set the overtime up. Had a big touchdown in the college football playoff semifinal against Cincinnati in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl. So we've seen this recently. Summer enrollee making big plays here. So those guys, they're a big deal. So we will see what those guys do. We take another break here on the show. Don't touch that dial, people, because upon our return, we jump back into the phone lines. We grab your calls, your thoughts, your chats, your conversations. We get into a dialogue with you right after this.
Don't touch that dial. Call in right now as we're taking your calls up next on In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith. Brought to you by We Own the Fourth Quarter. Visit WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com now to get your 4-finger bling necklace.
What's up, Bama Nation? This is Rudy Griffin, former Alabama defensive lineman, and you're listening to my guy, Stephen M. Smith, In My Own Words, brought to you by Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Roll Tide, roll!
Every sports fan deserves the proper representation. Whitwell Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care in support of Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only $9.99 and it lasts a lifetime. Head on over to WhitwellSports.com and get your Title Towel today.
Look at all these great players in Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Man, wait till I turn up this year. I'm gonna be on the front cover. But what if Will goes off? Or Joe, DeMarco, Chris, Tim, Christian.
Don't wait. Order now at touchdownalabama.com or call 833-483-2624 today.
Christian or Jameer.
All right, people, we're back in it from the break on a Friday, TGIF edition of the show, Memorial Day weekend. Hottest show on the streets covering your Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Happy to have all you guys in here. We got a super chat to shout out before we get to those phone lines. How about my man Bill? Bill from New York, that $5 donation, dropping that in the bucket right there, showing love here on the show. And right now, we get to those phone lines, those phone calls. Call statement brought to you by the Blue Wrench Gang, 205-448-1358. Number to call in, 205-448-1358. We grab this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Feeling good, brother. This is Tide, man, checking in from Jackson, Mississippi. How you doing?
Todd, man, doing great. And yourself?
I'm doing wonderfully. And unfortunately, I've missed your shows earlier in the week, but I did go back and get to check out the interview with Bo Scarborough. And let me tell you, man, Bo Scarborough nailed it, hit it out of the park. You know, I mean, there it is, right from the horse's mouth, from a true player who played 4 years at Bama under Nick Saban. Man wasn't paid any money. Could have gotten paid by probably many other schools, but chose to came to Bama because he knew Bama was not about paying players, but it was about all the things that he mentioned about wanting to become a better student. He emphasized the term student athlete as opposed to athlete student. That Saban cares about these kids on the field, off the field, beyond the field, beyond graduation. He wants them to be prepared for life, to make a positive difference in life, and to have success in their family lives, in their spiritual lives, you know, in their work lives. And Bo Scarborough, that was just so glad you had him on. And he's one of Bama's best, definitely at least for 1 year was our featured number one back, if I'm not mistaken. Had all the tools, had all the skills. All true Bama fans will always appreciate what he did for us. It was just refreshing to hear him say it, kind of echoing what Derrick Henry said when they asked him, how much money did they pay you in Alabama? And Derrick Henry said, they didn't pay us, they paid us in rings. You know, so when you're hearing it from the players themselves, you know, that carries a lot of weight with me. And again, Nick Saban is not against NIL. He's never been against the NIL. He's never been against players making as much value and creating as much value for themselves as possible. That's part of what his recruiting pitch. Come to Alabama and you'll be able to create opportunities for yourself. But he's criticizing the way the current NIL system is being played out, where it is basically coaches saying, we'll pay you, you know? And it might seem like splitting hairs, but it is a significant difference in the way Saban goes about it and the way Jimbo Fisher goes about it. And maybe Saban should not have mentioned him by name. Probably shouldn't have mentioned Jackson State and Deion Sanders by name. But guess what the man did? He manned up and apologized, even when he really didn't have anything to apologize for, just because he's Nick Saban, he's a class act. He stepped up to the plate and made a public apology. And now I keep hearing all this stuff about this feud, the so-called feud between Saban and Deion and Saban and Jimbo. There's no feud, man. Saban's moved on from this thing. If there's a feud, it's one-sided. You know, those two gentlemen need to man up and accept his public apology and move on with their own programs. You know, because I guarantee you, Saban ain't wasting any more time on this feud stuff. He's getting ready to prepare these kids to win another natty and to go be outstanding young people after football. But anyway, I appreciate what you do. Love that Bo Scarborough interview, and respect goes out to him and to all the Bama players that came through and did it the right way, got their degrees, and being successful athletes and successful people, successful fathers and husbands and family members in society, because that is part of the Nick Saban process. Always love listening to you, brother. Roll Tide as always, and I'll talk to you soon. Y'all have a great weekend.
Appreciate Todd, man, checking in from Jackson, Mississippi here on a Friday. We grabbed this call here, you're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
How's it going, Big Steve? This is Tobias out here, man.
Man, I'm good, brother, and yourself?
I'm doing great, sir. Great, sir. You know, I know it's private business. I hope the engagement and everything is going well there. With the future new bride and all of that. Everything good with you?
Everything cool, man. We smooth right now.
That's good. That's good stuff, man. So, you know, well, first off, we're going into the Memorial Day weekend and just what a great time. I know there was, you know, and there is tragedy in Texas and also Buffalo. The wickedness that's in people's heart is just sometimes mind-boggling. However, even in tragedy, I still thank God to be in the greatest nation on the planet, man. In the United States of America. Wouldn't have it any other way. Greatest land of opportunity, greatest land to be able to work hard and make something of yourself, if that's what you so choose. Even in spite of whatever barriers people talk about, man, I'm just thankful. And so for all of the men and women who have died to secure our freedom, it is not a light thing, especially in light of, Russia invading Ukraine and all of this kind of stuff. And to think we got, good relationships with people to the north and the south. And man, just great salute and reflection of how blessed we are in America on this Memorial Day weekend. But I concur with the previous caller. That Bo Scarborough interview was fire. Fire. He is such a class act. I have never heard him speak before. I know that he's on the new show, The Standard, but I had never heard him actually speak on any topic of substance. And I was thoroughly impressed. And I think you would probably agree with me that if he's not hurt in that other national championship, I believe that we win yet another natty.
No doubt whatsoever.
I mean, because he was rolling, bro. He had found his niche, and it was fire. There was no way we were coming back without a natty then. But of course, with Alabama, it's always that under Nick Saban. There's always an injury. There's always a something that kind of sets us back. I was looking at the new recruit, Eli, and I find it funny that everything is Manning, as if there's not other great athletes out there. And when you look at the quarterback quality that Nick Saban has been able to bring in, and some people kind of poo-poo A.J. McCarron and that's on the tip of my tongue. I'm missing this guy, the commentator.
McElroy.
McElroy. But they were all serviceable. And so they may not have had the dynamics, but they were all serviceable. And it just shows when you're in a great program, it's a team sport and everyone around can elevate the others. And so I'm excited about the commitment because if he's serious, then of course he'll start recruiting for this class coming in. And I think we're forgetting that there are 3 solid quarterbacks. Well, one is young, Ty is young, but we have 2 quarterbacks on our roster right now, one coming off of a Heisman, that I believe can be a 1-2 punch if we wanted to do that. And the other thing that I'm interested in is the SEC kind of throwing out there the idea of just doing it all themselves with all of this playoff negotiation stuff and just going it alone. SEC is throwing its weight around heavy right now to create the discussion at least. Because when you look at our top teams, Steve, I'm not sure what people want. And I know you others, everyone is advocating for the playoffs to expand, which is fine enough, but I think it'll be more of the same. I don't see where you're not going to have 3, 4, 5 SEC teams in the top 12. Even if you gave an automatic bid, which I don't agree with, I don't think conferences should get an automatic bid. But I found it interesting that NCAA talking about moving away from divisions, and a couple of conferences already have gotten rid of divisions to try to get the best 2 teams in their championship game. It's going to help them, but it does nothing for the SEC because we already have the top teams there. Out here where I'm at, Pac-12, I mean, who are we really talking about? You talking about Utah? I mean, you talking about Oregon? Okay. Oregon have its opportunity against Georgia. We'll find out how that looks. If they win that game, okay, Pac-12 has at least one that could do something. But in terms of top to bottom, you look at our bottom of SEC, I'm not sure if you don't end up with up to 8 teams that are better than some other conferences. If you have Ohio State, if you want to throw Michigan in there, which I don't think is going to be solid this year, but let's just say that they are. Let's just say that Wisconsin is back. You got 3 out of Big Ten. Let's say Clemson is back. You got 4 there. Let's say that there's one more ACC school. Everyone is on the Miami trip again and again and again. Okay, so you got 5. It's still in a 12-team playoff. You're still going to end up with largely SEC people in. So right now, I think the conference itself is strong. I think Alabama is in a good place. I think that there is no feud with Jimbo. I really feel sad for this man. It's very strange, like I said before, but I'll leave that alone. But Texas A&M, they're going to come to Tuscaloosa, and they're going to get beat by 40 points this fall. I'm saying it now, 40-point beatdown when they come to Tuscaloosa. And we're going to find out Jimbo's prowess as a coach, since he's talking all of that yickety-yak. I'm just really amazed at people who have done a little bit. He can say that he has a national championship. I'm just amazed at all of these schools talking about rivalries. When you win 2 times in 14 years and you call it a rivalry. You win 1 time in 14 years and it's a rivalry. I don't understand that. It's so amazing to me. So even with Georgia fans, I don't mean no harm, but what rivalry are you talking about? You win 1 time in 12 years, and it's a rivalry. Saban's going down. What are these people talking about? Anyway, I dropped $100 into the chat. I appreciate you, man. Keep rolling. Everyone have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Roll Tide, man.
Appreciate my man Tobias out of Fresno with that call right there, and that $100 from Tobias in that super chat, showing love here to the show. We take this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from. You're live on the show, caller.
Steven, hi. Bill from New York. What's up, brother?
Bill, what's going on? What's going on? Doing great, man.
Glad to hear that. You know, it's really hard to follow up on calls by Tideman and Tobias, two of the best callers to me on any show. You know what I mean? Like, those guys are really cool. So I got like a little theory I want to run by you with Alabama. See, the thing is, like, you know, we're talking about A&M and Bama, and it's good for the media to build all this up. The thing is, we had so many losses in terms of players, great players last year, you know, and we still went to the title game and might have won it without the injuries. But even if we lost, you know, we lost it fair and square, whatever, you know what I mean? There's not a doubt in my mind that we're going to be better than last year. There's no doubt. Steven, you know, I know that like I know 1 and 1 is 2, you know, and in fact, I think of all these teams in the, like, A&M, they got their 7 5-stars, you know, what a coincidence after the NIL and everything. But, you know, they lost a lot of people too. They lost their best defensive lineman. They lost their best offensive lineman. They lost you know, the quarterback and everything. They got a lot to prove. I'm not impressed, you know. So I'm just saying, and we have Coach Saban. And you saw what he did last year, which I still think was the best coaching he's ever done to get that team to a title game. Oh, Steven, we're going to kick. I don't want to cuss. We're going to kick people's behinds. You know what I mean? So anyway, great to talk to you. Like I say, hard to follow up on those 2 great, all-time great callers. You know, so happy for you about what's going on in your life. And, you're going to be a multi-millionaire down the road. Listen to me. I know what I'm talking about. So have a great night, Stephen. God bless.
Appreciate my man Bill from New York with that call right there. And I mean, John, you and I both know that a lot of these games have the build-up when it comes to Alabama. I mean, personally, I always go back to 2017 when it was Alabama and Florida State. Jimbo Fisher was the head coach of the Seminoles. It was 1 versus 3 in Atlanta, the Chick-fil-A kickoff. And everybody was building this game up as the greatest opener of all time, the GOAT, right? And the ball gets kicked off. Florida State got its teeth kicked in. I mean, DeAndre Francois, poor guy, had his career ended because Ronnie Harrison took his knees out. I mean, that's how rough that game was for Florida State. I mean, I got walloped 24-7 despite all the build-up to that game. And then 2016, if you remember, there was so much build-up between Alabama and USC. Like, USC comes out the tunnel crawling on all fours like dogs, thinking they were going to do something, and they got beat down 52-6. Then it was the 2015 game between Alabama and Georgia in the monsoon of rain. That game was hyped up. Bama was a 1-point underdog that week, and Georgia coming out barking and talking. Bama beats them in the rain 38-10. So it's like we've seen build-ups to these types of games, but we've all seen how they have, what the result has been more times than not. It's been Alabama embarrassing the other team. So 2 games will be incredibly hyped up this season. The Texas game on September 10th will be incredibly hyped up. And then, of course, the Texas A&M game on October 8th will be incredibly hyped up. I think Alabama wins both of those football games just due to Coach Saban's going to find every ounce of motivation. And it really doesn't need to, because these guys coming off a national championship loss have all of the motivation that they need. So it's going to be fun to watch this season. But continue to get your thoughts in here, 205-448-1358, number to call in. We got this awesome topic here on MAC 10. Mac Jones entering year 2 of the NFL with the New England Patriots, and he's been putting in a lot of work this offseason. According to wide receiver Kendrick Bourne, Mac Jones has dropped weight. His stomach is gone. He has put on muscle. He has trimmed up. I mean, he looks good. Mac looks real good. And not just that, the connection that he has with the players on this team is incredible. The connection he has with the offensive line, the connection he's got with the receivers, the connections he's got with the running backs, the connection that he has with the guys on defense. Like, Mac is ready. He's even working with Tom House, who's the throwing coach for Tom Brady. So Jones is really about to take this jump here, year 2. Even with the loss of Josh McDaniels to the Las Vegas Raiders to be their head coach, I still think Mac is going to take this jump from year 1 to year 2. I'm just excited to see him, Tua Tagovailoa, and Jalen Hurts, all 3 of them, take massive jumps as quarterbacks for their respective NFL teams. But good to see Mac Jones doing his thing here in the offseason. But we go to our final break here, folks, on this show. Don't touch that dial. When we return, we will actually break down in detail all of the opponents in Alabama's 2022 regular season schedule. We'll size it up right after this.
If you're an avid Alabama Crimson Tide fan and you love to flaunt it, then show your Alabama Crimson Tide support by grabbing the All-Bama sneakers. They feature bold Crimson Tide graphics, so no one will be able to question where your allegiance lies. When you add these sweet sneakers to your Alabama Crimson Tide collection, go to STSfootwear.com and use the code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. That's code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. Go to STSfootwear.com and get your All-Bama sneakers today. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide. Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.
This is Chris Rogers, 2009 national champion. You are listening to the baddest, when I say the baddest, sports show in the state of Alabama. In my own words, you know, yours truly, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Don't touch that dial.
All right, folks, we're back in here from the break. TGIF edition of the show. Memorial Day weekend. You're rocking and rolling with the number one forum in the land, talking your Bama football in my own words. Yours truly, Stephen M. Smith, right here. And before we get into the final topic of conversation on today, got to remind you of TDAwear.com. That's TDAwear.com. So for all of your swagger, sauce, drip, culture, clothing, fashion needs, check us out right now. TDAwear.com. Make us your one-stop shop for all things Bama. Get yourself set up now with your gear for summer workouts, fall camp, 2022 season by getting your brand, by getting your clothing to rep your team and supporting the brand, putting out to you the information on your team. TDAwear.com, link in the description. Continue showing that support for Coach Saban, the University of Alabama, the student athletes, and us here at Touchdown Alabama Magazine. But now we look at here detailing the opponents Alabama will face in the 2022 regular season in the fall, and just breaking down the regular season schedule here for the Crimson Tide. So starting things off here, Alabama will take on Utah State on September 3rd at Bryant-Denny, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. For the first time in the Nick Saban era, for the third time in the Nick Saban era, Alabama will start off with not having just a marquee opponent. I know 2020, it didn't have a marquee non-conference opponent. However, it started the season off against Missouri. That was an all-conference only schedule. 2020 was just different. But when you look at 2010, Alabama started that regular season off against San Jose State. 2011, started the regular season off against Kent State. So started off against Utah State. And this is a decent non-conference opponent. The Aggies were 11-3 last year. They averaged a little bit over 30 points a game at 32.6. They've got Logan Bonner, their quarterback, coming back. They got Calvin Tyler Jr., their running back, coming back. They got Justin Griff, the receiver, is back. And they got some pieces defensively that can affect the quarterback. So Utah State's going to give you some looks. They're going to give you some looks offensively where Pete Golding and this Alabama defense got to be on your P's and Q's, recognizing who's got what, who's doing this, communicating all of these things out. And then offensively, Alabama, with Bill O'Brien and Eric Wolford, this offensive line, the play calling, got to be on the same page, because Utah State's got some guys that will try to come after Bryce Young and create some havoc. So while Utah State, not the greatest season opener in the world, it's not like an Ohio State, a USC, a Oklahoma, a Clemson, a Virginia Tech, a Michigan, a West Virginia, teams in years past, but Utah State will still provide some looks that Alabama's got to be prepared for. So Utah State out the gate here. Number two, very next matchup here, you got Texas, and that will be on Saturday, September 10th. Yes, the dreaded 11 a.m. game. I know, Bama Nation, you didn't want this game at 11 o'clock in the morning in the Texas heat, but Fox Big Noon will have this game at 11 o'clock in the morning in Texas heat. But We all know Steve Sarkisian is trying to get that win over Coach Saban. Texas has Bijan Robinson at running back, trying to be in that Heisman Trophy conversation. You've got Jingle Billingsley, former Alabama tight end, now at Texas. You've got J.I. Hall, former Alabama wide receiver, now at Texas. You've got also former Alabama coaches now at Texas with Jeff Banks and Kyle Flood and Bo Davis. So, that even the quarterback matchup, you've got Casey Thompson versus Hudson Card, a little quarterback battle there brewing there for the Longhorns. But that'll be interesting. That will be an interesting football game. I mean, Bama's going to want to go down there and take care of Texas early, often put the hammer down. But that should be a fun matchup, especially between Pete Golding and Steve Sarkisian. The offensive mastermind in Sarkisian, the defensive coach in Pete Golding, who wants to show the Bama fans once and for all he is the guy as the defensive coordinator for the Crimson Tide. So that's going to be a fun matchup right there. Moving down to week 3 here, you got Louisiana Monroe, which will be on Saturday, September 17th at Bryant-Denny, 3 p.m. Central Time. I know you as Bama fans, Alabama beat Monroe in 2015. People still think about that 2007 season where Bama lost to Monroe, and you go, ever since that 07 game, I want to beat the teeth out of Monroe. Ever since that 07 matchup. And Louisiana Monroe, they've got some players, they've got some guys, but this past season they finished at 4-8. So not a good season in 2021. Still, Nick Saban taking no opponent lightly. He's still going to look to see or be prepared to see the type of looks that La Monroe will give, whether they're going to be a full-on, more so of a running team or more so of a passing team. Defensively, they got a playmaker here or there, so there'll be something intriguing to watch there, but that's Louisiana Monroe. Moving down to the 4th team here on the schedule. Here's Vanderbilt. Here comes Vandy on September the 14th. September the 24th, excuse me. That game will be in Bryant-Denny. And for Vandy, under Coach Clark Lee, this will be interesting. You got Ken Seals back as the quarterback. Now, this past season, he threw for 5 touchdown passes, 8 picks. Not a good number at all there, but Ken Seals, hopefully he'll be much improved there. Alabama does have Tyler Steen, a transfer from Vandy to put on the offensive line. That'd be intriguing. That'd be something to watch there. Can Vandy make this a close, a fun, a competitive game? I don't see them doing it, but can they make this a competition? That'll be what my eyes will be on. Moving on from Vandy, you look at Arkansas. Now, this is where it's going to get interesting here. Arkansas on October 1st, this game will be at DWR Razorback Stadium in Fayetteville. Sam Pittman has changed the culture at Arkansas. They went 9-4 last year. Last year, that game was crazy, 42-35. Bama got the win, but that game was a mini shootout in Bryant-Denny. K.J. Jefferson is back. He can throw the football well. He can run it well. You've got 3 to 4 running backs Arkansas will use. Yes, it lost Treylon Burks, the outstanding wide receiver. They've got some playmakers returning. They've recruited some other guys. Defensively, losing Bumper Poole and Hayden Henry, 2 really good linebackers. That stings, but they did get Drew Sanders from the transfer portal from Alabama. So Sam Pittman has changed the culture a little bit of that program. And with that game being in Fayetteville, that will be a very that'll be one to watch. Keep your eyes there on that matchup. Really like what K.J. Jefferson can do there. Keep your eyes on that matchup against Arkansas. Moving on here to the next game. Here is the one, October 8th. Bama, A&M, Bad Blood, the revenge game, Nick Saban, Jimbo Fisher in Bryant-Denny. I can clearly see this going after 2014 game that ended up being 59-0 in favor of the Crimson Tide. I can see this flowing just like that. Now, for A&M, they lost quarterback Zach Calzada to to Auburn. But A&M's got another quarterback that I think they picked up Max Johnson. So it's crazy. A&M lost Calzada to Auburn, and LSU lost Max Johnson to A&M. So A&M's got Max Johnson. They have also got Devon A-Chain back at running back. They got Anaya Smith at wide receiver. They lost Jalen Watermeyer, a really good tight end. They lost Isaiah Spiller, a really good running back. They lost some pieces defensively, but they got some guys back. It's going to be that game's going to be packed out, okay? That game's going to be packed out, and I'm hoping CBS makes this a night game under the LED lighting feature in Bryant-Denny. There's going to be a lot of build-up for this, but like Bama in this matchup, just based off of how difficult that loss was a season ago, and with all the talking Jimbo Fisher did, really excited about this matchup right here. But moving on from A&M, the next game, you got Tennessee, and this will be on October 15th. Will this be the third Saturday in October? Believe it will be. And this will be at Rocky Top, Neyland Stadium in Knoxville. Now, Josh Heupel quietly is putting together some talent there in Tennessee. You've got you got Hendon Hooker, quarterback for the Volunteers. He had some good moments last year in that game against Alabama. So Hendon Hooker is back. They've got some really good running backs back there for the Volunteers, including Tion Johnson. He's back. But you got at the wide receiver position, they lost Velus Jones, but Charles Tillman, their 1,000-yard guy, 1,081 yards receiving to be exact. Tillman is back. I mean, defensively, Tennessee's got some studs. They've got some ballers. They've got some guys that can make some plays out there. So that matchup on Rocky Top could be a fun one, but that is Tennessee on October the 15th. Moving on down here, you've got Mississippi State, which will be on October the 22nd in Bryant-Denny, the battle for Highway 82 for those Bulldogs who finished at 7-6 a season ago under Mike Leach, trying to get the air raid to work in this conference. Will Rogers is back, a quarterback. He had over 3,000 yards passing a season ago, 36 touchdowns, 9 picks. Mississippi State, they don't run the ball a whole lot, but they do use their running backs as receivers out of the backfield, including one Jaquavius Marks, who is back. Defensively, Mississippi State, they're tough, they're hard-nosed, they fire the ball, they play this weird sort of amoeba stack 3-3-5 set type of defense where they put a lot on their linebackers to roam around, make tackles. Defensive line is usually stout. They're usually a tough, gritty, hard-nosed group. They're always hard. They're always hard-nosed. So Mississippi State should be a good one there under Mike Leach. And next one here for Alabama, you got LSU in the Bayou on November the 5th. Tiger Stadium, Baton Rouge. Brian Kelly talking about one of his goals, beating Nick Saban. He wants to beat Nick Saban. He's going to have a chance to host Nick Saban in his first matchup as an SEC head coach. Now for LSU, they brought in Jaden Daniels from Arizona State as transfer from the portal to be the quarterback. Miles Brennan is back for a 5th year or 6th year. He's been there quite some time, but Miles Brennan is back. You got Ty Davis Price as a running back, John Emery Jr. as a running back, Keyshawn Boutte at wide receiver, Jack Besh, the other receiver, Jeray Jenkins, another receiver. Defensively, LSU, yes, no more Derek Stingley, but they've got other pieces there on that defensive side of the football. So Alabama, LSU, it's always fun, it's always physical, it's always hard-nosed, it's always a good, competitive football game. This one in the Bayou Tiger Stadium on November 5th. Moving on down here to the next matchup, you got Ole Miss. Normally, this matchup is in September, October, but Lane Kiffin and big boyed himself to a November matchup against Alabama. November 12th, Alabama goes to the Grove, Vaught Hemingway Stadium in Oxford to face the Lane Train and Kiffin. No more Matt Corral, so we got to see what the quarterback situation is like. But I believe Jerrion Ely is back at running back. Snoop Connor is back at running back. They normally recruit pretty good at wide receiver, pretty well at wide receiver. They've got some defensive players back, even though Sam Williams is off to the NFL. So we will see what Ole Miss looks like. Normally, with Ole Miss, great offense, defense, not so much. But if they can have somewhat of a good enough defense, maybe we could see something interesting here in Oxford. But you know what, Lane Kiffin, he's always got tricks up his sleeve. But moving on here, next matchup for Alabama, we got Austin Peay, which will be on November 19th at 11 a.m. Central Time kickoff from Bryant-Denny. Austin Peay, I mean, they finished, 2-12 a season ago, if I'm not mistaken? Were they 2-12? Well, Austin Peay, a team that, going to be a good warm-up, tune-up game for Auburn. Still, Nick Saban not overlooking anybody whatsoever, because you can still learn some things from playing Austin Peay, but will be a really good tune-up game for the following match against those Auburn Tigers, which leads us to those Auburn Tigers. This will be on November 28th or 26th, excuse me. We will see when the time will be announced for that game. This game will be back in Bryant-Denny after a thrilling 4 overtime matchup at Jordan-Hare a season ago. Bama got the 24-22 win. And for Auburn under coach Brian Harsin, a lot of the fans want Harsin gone, Harsin hanging on by the tail seat of his pants. What will he be able to do this season? Now, fortunately for the Tigers, they did get Zach Calzada, the transfer quarterback from Texas A&M out of the portal. They do still have Tank Bigsby at running back. They've got Demetrius Robertson, a wide receiver from Georgia. They still have him on defense. Auburn normally keeps some pretty quality defensive guys, whether these are pass rushers, defensive backs, linebackers hitting gaps, making plays. So for Auburn, it's going to be what will Brian Harsin and the Tigers look like going into the Iron Bowl? Because it could be one of two ways. Auburn could either look like they're on fire going into the Iron Bowl, and everybody's hyped up the Iron Bowl. Here we go, Iron Bowl! Or Brian Harsin could be limping all the way into the Iron Bowl, and they're like, well, there's the Iron Bowl. So we'll see. We shall see. But that is a breakdown of the regular season schedule for your Crimson Tide from start to finish. Going to be good to watch this all go down, starting on September 3rd against one Utah State in Bryant-Denny Stadium. But as always, folks, you want the best in news, notes, information, coverage, and entertainment on your favorite program, that being the Crimson Tide. You can access the Touchdown Alabama Magazine app. Now, you download the app from the iPhone App Store. If you're rocking Team Apple, Google Play Store if you got the Android phone. For your audio needs, check us out, iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, Google Play, Overcast.fm, or iHeartRadio. Got you covered. If the good and gracious Lord sees fit, I will try to be back on Monday, continuing the conversation that is Bama football. Remember, Tide fans, you can purchase individual copies of Touchdown Alabama magazine. Have those sent to your door. That link found, you guessed it, in the description. Also, if you're trying to get the fresh edition, print edition of TDA, the magazine, you go to touchdownalabama.com, you click join, become a member or a subscriber today. That link in the description. If you're trying to get your hands on the 4-finger bling necklace, 4-finger bling jewelry, courtesy of our guys that we own, thefourthquarter.com. That link in the description as well. Guys, shout out you guys, the incredible fans of Alabama football. All of your chats, your donations, your calls, your texts, the dialogue, the conversation I was able to have with you guys today. Definitely enjoy your weekend, your Memorial Day weekend that being. Guys, shout out my man John Ivory in the production studio, keeping me on task as he tries to do every single time. And until next time, folks, husbands, love your wives. Wives, appreciate, value those husbands, children. Summer here. You've made it. Summer is here, but continue doing the right thing, fun thing, smart thing, good thing, legitimate thing to not be bored. Be sure to get yourself those 3 hearty meals a day, those 3 great laughs a day. You protect yourself. You protect the loved ones around you. Until next time, folks, enjoy Memorial Day weekend. I'm your man, Stephen M. Smith, and you've been listening to In My Own Words.